David Miller stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling mirror of his Manhattan penthouse, adjusting his designer suit. At 38, he had everything society admired: wealth, status, and a younger bride from an influential family. Tomorrow was his wedding day, and the guest list was filled with powerful names. To David, the event wasn't just about love, it was about proving he had won at life. One invitation, however, mattered more to him than the rest. Sarah Miller, his ex-wife. Years ago, Sarah had been his quiet strength. They met in college in Ohio, built dreams together, and married with little money but a lot of hope. When Sarah became pregnant, everything changed. The pregnancy was complicated, and when doctors revealed she was carrying triplets, David panicked. Pressure from his rising career and rumors whispered by jealous colleagues poisoned his mind. Convinced the children couldn't be his, he accused Sarah, humiliated her, and filed for divorce. Sarah had begged him to wait for the DNA tests. David refused. He walked away, leaving Sarah alone, pregnant, and broke. Now, years later, David was rich. Sarah, as far as he knew, had struggled. When his wedding planner asked whether to send an invitation to his ex-wife, David smiled cruelly and said yes. He imagined her arriving alone, wearing cheap clothes, forced to watch his success up close. It felt like closure to him, like revenge. Across the city, in a small but neat apartment in Brooklyn, Sarah sat on the couch watching her 3 children laugh on the floor. Noah, Eli, and Lily were 8 years old, bright, polite, and full of life. Their laughter was her reward for years of hardship. She worked hard, never complained, and never spoke badly about their biological father. When the wedding invitation arrived, Sarah froze. For a moment, old pain resurfaced: the nights she cried herself to sleep, the hospital bills, the judgmental looks. But then she looked at her children and took a slow breath. She didn't feel anger anymore. Only calm. "It's just an invitation," she whispered to herself. Still, something inside told her she needed to go, not for David, but for herself. She wanted to close that chapter, to stand tall where she had once been broken. The triplets noticed her silence. "Mom, are you okay?" Lily asked softly. Sarah smiled and nodded. "I'm okay, sweetheart." The night before the wedding, David drank champagne with friends, laughing loudly. "Wait till you see my ex," he bragged. "She'll finally understand who lost." Meanwhile, Sarah gently pressed her children's clothes for the next day, unaware that destiny was quietly aligning events in her favor. Outside, the city lights glowed endlessly, and somewhere between pride and humility, tomorrow promised to change lives forever. The next afternoon, the entrance of the luxury hotel buzzed with excitement. Crystal chandeliers shimmered, and guests in designer outfits gathered, taking photos and greeting one another. David stood near the entrance, greeting important business partners, his confidence unshakable. Every few minutes, his eyes drifted toward the driveway, waiting for the moment he had been imagining for weeks. Then he saw her. Sarah stood across the street with the triplets. She looked calm, composed, wearing an elegant but simple dress. Her posture was straight, her expression peaceful. The children stood proudly beside her, holding hands. David frowned slightly. This wasn't the nervous, broken woman he expected, but he brushed the feeling away. Guests began whispering as they recognized her. Before Sarah could take a step forward, a deep engine sound cut through the chatter. A long black limousine slowly pulled up to the entrance. Cameras turned instantly. The driver stepped out and opened the door with respect. Gasps spread through the crowd. A distinguished man in a tailored suit stepped out first, then turned and offered his hand to Sarah. She accepted it with a gentle smile. One by one, the triplets followed, confident and well-mannered. The man placed a protective hand on Sarah's shoulder, clearly proud. David's face went pale. The man introduced himself calmly to the stunned guests. He was a well-known entrepreneur and philanthropist, someone David himself had once tried and failed to impress. Murmurs turned into open shock when the man announced that Sarah was his wife and the children were his family in every way that mattered. David stepped forward, angry and confused. "This is some kind of joke," he snapped. The man's expression remained composed. "No, David. Years ago, when Sarah was abandoned, I helped her. I stood by her when she had nothing. I raised these children with love." He then revealed the truth David had refused to face. DNA tests had proven long ago that David was indeed the biological father, but by the time the results came out, Sarah had already chosen peace over bitterness. She never chased his money or name. Instead, she built a new life. The man handed David a slim envelope. Inside were legal notices, details of investigations into David's past business dealings, deals that were now collapsing. The same arrogance that once cost him his family had finally caught up with him. Guests watched in silence as David's confidence shattered. Sarah stepped forward quietly. She didn't raise her voice or show anger. "I didn't come here to humiliate you," she said softly. "I came to show my children that dignity is stronger than pride." She looked at the triplets, who smiled back at her. Hand in hand with her husband and children, Sarah walked past David and into the sunlight. The whispers followed, but this time, they were filled with admiration. Behind her, the wedding stood frozen, hollow and quiet. For the first time in years, Sarah felt completely free.